Hello everyone, and welcome to this episode. Today, I want to talk about a topic that none of us can avoid, money. More precisely, the green piece of paper in our pockets with the president's portrait printed on it, the US dollar, and the profound crisis it's quietly undergoing. Do you share a feeling, a pervasive unease? It's as if we're aboard a massive ship, its hull sturdy and its lights blazing, but the sailors whisper about invisible cracks in the bottom, slowly leaking water. That ship is our current global financial system, dominated by the US dollar. And those cracks are the relentless inflation that's eroding the dollar's purchasing power. Let's turn our attention to Washington. Current government policies are unabashedly pushing us toward persistent inflation and the accompanying political chaos. This may sound alarmist, but the reality is that when a country's currency loses credibility, the consequences can be profound and devastating. Many Americans, and indeed investors around the world, are feeling this chill. They desperately seek to escape this sinking ship, searching for a Noah's Ark to carry their wealth. Talk of multi-currency, globally distributed investments is swirling. As a result, we're witnessing a strange phenomenon, a specter called cryptocurrency, worth trillions of dollars, hovering over global financial markets. The rise of Bitcoin and various other virtual currencies essentially reflects a deep distrust of fiat currencies. But the question is, can this seemingly glittering cryptoark truly lead us to safety? Or is it just a carefully crafted new game for speculators to indulge in? Let's dissect the nature of cryptocurrency. Take the so-called stable coin, for example. It's claimed to be pegged 1:1 to the US dollar. But think about it. What exactly is this? It's like an exorbitantly expensive prepaid gift card. You exchange real dollars for a digital token whose value remains anchored to the depreciating dollar you're trying to escape. Far from mitigating risk, you're actually incurring additional costs to use this trendy tool. The frenzy surrounding stablecoins demonstrates how easily people lose their rational judgment when caught up in a frenzy. In his book, renowned thinker James Rickards offered a thought-provoking insight. Modern people have lost the idea of money, and have replaced real currency with something called money-like. So, what is real money? Rickards argues that money is one of the cornerstones of civilization. It's not the whole of civilization, but it's crucial. Money is an upgrade to barter, a substitute for violence, fosters commerce and investment, and serves as a storehouse of wealth. Like law, religion, and the family, it is the institutional foundation that keeps civilized societies civilized and prevents them from descending into a war of all against all. By this definition, the vast majority of cryptocurrencies are more like money-like. They mimic some of the functions of money, such as a medium of exchange, but they lack the core essence of money, intrinsic value and the historical credibility it holds. They are more like speculative assets, stocks that can generate dramatic returns in a short period of time, rather than currencies that can survive cycles and protect wealth. In fact, the biggest returns in the crypto space right now often come not from holding the tokens themselves, but from investing in platforms that facilitate speculation, such as stocks on exchanges. This speaks volumes. People are chasing profits driven by volatility, not stability. So, when the dollar truly begins to leak, where is the true Noah's Ark? The answer, in fact, has always been with us, ancient and reliable, gold. While some politicians hope to make the United States the world's cryptocurrency capital and even threaten to open these speculative concepts to retirement accounts, smart money elsewhere in the world, particularly central banks, the very banks that control the lives of nations, is quietly migrating away from the dollar and returning to the only true form of money that is not a debt owed to anyone, gold. This trend isn't groundless, it represents a profound, ongoing structural shift. Central banks around the world have been increasing their gold reserves on an unprecedented scale in recent years. Why? Because they know better than anyone that when the global monetary system faces a reckoning, holding real gold is far safer than holding a pile of foreign government bonds that could default at any moment. A decisive, nuclear-level regulatory change has quietly taken place. On July 1, 2025, the Basel III banking regulations officially took effect. This new rule reclassifies physical gold as a Tier 1 asset. What does this mean? This means that banks can now include their physical gold holdings in their core capital reserves at 100% of their market value, treating them the same as cash and the highest credit sovereign bonds, such as U.S. Treasuries. Previously, gold was considered a Tier 3 asset, its value being discounted. This change is revolutionary. Officially, it restores gold's monetary status as the ultimate, risk-free asset. This is more than just an accounting rule adjustment, it reshapes the underlying logic of the global financial system. It tells financial institutions around the world, gold is no longer just a commodity, it is money, the highest quality money. As institutions and countries begin to rediscover the value of gold, a simple and harsh reality emerges: there is simply too little physical gold available for delivery. Global investors currently have an alarmingly low allocation to gold. One veteran fund manager estimates that, excluding physical gold held by central banks and individuals, global portfolios may only hold 1% of gold, and in the United States, it's even lower, at 0.5%. In our grandfather's time, a standard trust portfolio would have held at least 10% in gold. What does this mean? It means we are at a major, historic turning point. What will happen when even a small portion of global capital reallocates from overvalued stock and bond markets back into gold? The answer is, we will see 5-digit gold and 3-digit silver. This prediction is not far-fetched. J.P. Morgan, in a June 2025 research report, explicitly stated that a gold price of $4,000 per ounce is entirely possible, especially given the risk of a recession and ongoing trade tariffs. They believe that the structural bull market foundation for gold is very solid. Why are even mainstream institutions like J.P. Morgan so bullish? Because they see an accelerating trend, de-dollarization. This doesn't mean that countries are completely abandoning the dollar, but rather that they are systematically reducing their over-reliance on U.S. assets. When central banks reduce their purchases of U.S. treasuries and increase their holdings of gold, the cost of issuing U.S. government debt will rise, forcing long-term treasury bond interest rates higher, further weakening the dollar's position and creating a self-reinforcing cycle. So, friends, let's return to the original question. For investors who value asset security, when the financial storm hits, which ship should we board? The crypto arc, which looks cool and tempting, but is essentially just a speculative game. Or the gold arc, which appears ancient and unpretentious, but has withstood the test of thousands of years and has been recrowned the king by global central banks and financial regulations? The answer is self-evident. The long-term devaluation of the US dollar is a slow but inevitable process. The craze for most cryptocurrencies is just an interesting sideshow in this process, a huge value trap. Gold, on the other hand, is quietly reclaiming its throne as the world's primary reserve asset. This drama has only just begun, and each of us is a witness and participant in this historic migration of wealth. Okay, that's all for now. We'll continue next time.